Okay. So I think we need it all together and we can start. My name is Alexey Asyaev and I came from Russian Federation. And the session I'm going to present next minutes will be about one project we have implemented. We think that it's a rather successful project. We learned a lot. Based on this, the customer seems to be happy. And I will go through some challenges, problems, techniques we used and we have during the implementation. But before I start, I would like to say thank you to all Alexey team and our sponsors who make it possible to bring all us together to this great event. I was really impressed from the day yesterday and beginning of day today, and hope the rest of the day will be also very positive and we will get a lot of new ideas, technical tips and hints, and just spend this time very good. Few words about the team. Our team is rather small. We have 10 plus employees who is permanently employed. We are located in Kyiv. I guess not all knows where it's located. Most probably Moscow, St. Petersburg, Sochi are rather well known, like some other cities. Just for small information, we are a little bit far, around 900 kilometers away from Moscow in direction northeast. Yeah, if we would like, with my colleague, to take a car, it would take us some time, so we decided to choose an airplane to get here. Well, basically, 90% of our business is Java development, which we could split, I would say, in two equal parts. One technology stack is related completely to web page development based on OpenCms. It's something about 50% of our work. And the second task, or second type of task we have, it's different system integration technologies like services, enterprise service being portals, and some other stuff. Sometimes we try to mix it together, but it's really seldom. Yeah, we are with OpenCms since 2006, so from all the versions, and we have many projects we have implemented with OpenCms. We use some projects which still use version 7, version 8, 8.5, and so on. Of course, all our modern projects we try to build on the newest one available, 9.5.2. Well, and we love OpenCms, and we are sure we will use it further. Some facts about projects. We will take a look. I will explain what we had in the beginning, from what we start, what was the starting point, and what specific requirements customer gave us, what problems and approaches, key success factors, what was really important, what allows us to bring this project to success. I also will tell a few words about project management or project lifecycle management. I would say how we do this in our company. There will be some common features we already saw in other presentation, for example, yesterday. We use similar tools, but a little bit from another angle. And I will show this. And as well, I will explain how we did migrations, because the project was started about 3 years ago, and it was version 8.0. Then we moved to 8.5, and now we're in process to move to 9.5. So the to-dos we did, the requirements why we made this, we will go through. The project is Erarta. Erarta is the largest contemporary art museum in Russia. It's a private one. It's located in St. Petersburg and has several buildings there. But it's much more than just one museum. They have galleries abroad, in London and in Hong Kong. They had more a little bit, but it seems they reorganized their business at the moment. It's not only the place that it's possible to see the art or to attend some art or art object, contemporary art exhibitions. As well, they have a very important mission in Russian Federation. They try to play everything around contemporary art in every and any region of our country. So they run projects, they support artists, more than 350 artists somehow in this community, and they doing a lot of noise around the subject, and basically they're taking a leading position from contemporary art. They're well known, not only in Russia but abroad as well. Then people came to St. Petersburg. Erarta, it's top 10 places to visit where people go and want to spend time there. Well, to get some impression what type of content and what kind of information, how it is presented, I will switch to browser and give you some slides. At the moment it's implemented in Russian and English, so I will switch to English language, so it will be a little bit easier, I guess. Well, what is important, they have, as I already said, a lot of directions which describe, for example, the museum, the galleries, the exhibitions, the events, concerts, different other types of activities, and so on. And we have implemented different types of sliders for this, so each page or part of web page looks a little bit different and brings us new impressions from look and feel. We have implemented different type of structured content with different visualization effects, like actual sliders. For example, we have different types of scrollers, video inclusions, or I just click next 30 seconds to show more about. The data structure is all rather complex because we have a lot of relations between documents, like parent-child connections, inside OpenCms and as well with outside data sources. I also prepared one slide to show how it's organized internally from architecture point of view. There is an online shop where it's possible to order prints of basically all collection in Mian in different forms, in forms of color print logically or other types of visualization. Well, for example, we have calendar, which shows how many different events, exhibitions taking part every day. It's about 6 floors building, and they play different games on each of them. Something for adults, for kids, for groups, and for individuals. There are lots of interesting events like nighttime events with lighters and so on. So it's really nice if you will come to St. Petersburg. It makes sense to be there. So back to slides. I just showed you an actual state, what we have in process since 2.5 years or nearly 3 years when we started the project. But what we had in the very beginning looks a little bit like chaos, in technical point of view, of course. In my opinion, if you do something with art, it should be a kind of chaos in your head. But if you are working with technical stuff or technologies, it's not always really good. What I mean by this, from technical point of view, before we start the project, they already had a number of web pages. Each web page ran different CMS, different backend data store. They had a lot of Adobe Flash inclusions into these shops. So it was really heavy to maintain, develop, and extend. Moreover, there were a couple of applications in back office, such as ERP system, which stored, for example, prices for certain prints, or they have order calculation or order further processing. Then someone orders a painting in a web shop. Ticketing system, which was integrated with standard museum ticketing system and exhibitions and so on, some other data. Of course, customer called it integration somehow, but it was a little bit tricky. And there were a huge basement for all this stuff, which consists not from a solid platform or framework. It was consistent from lots of ideas, problems, wishes, bug reports, not finished development, and so on. So it was a kind of chaos. Unsecure, inconvenient, legacy and out of the date in most of the cases, like we thought. And we got a brilliant idea, as we had in the beginning. We made a presentation to customer, and it was our idea. In a few slides we explain that it's really easy to jump from one state to another. And we were already ready to fight, but they asked us, hey, what's about our legacy content? We spent lots of time of our employees to collect, to process, to edit, publish, and do lots of work around to get all what you see in our several web pages in our shop. We have orders in process, plus it will take some time for implementation, and you have to make it in such a way, like in one deadline, in certain day, we have to switch from old system to a new one with no headache for us. Please think about this. So that's why it was important for us to understand what was the aims or goals of customer, what tasks customer planned to implement together with us. And they are listed on that slide. So the first and very important requirement was it has to be a reliable platform. And each release we do should be or must be stable. The customer was honest to us and said, well, we will change our requirements very often. Be prepared for this. Today I want blue color, tomorrow I need red. I would like to use this image gallery, but tomorrow might be I will need another one. Not only look and feel, but as well from business logic point of view, from integration point of view, and so on. So today they use one payment system, online payment system, and tomorrow they sign a new contract, they say, okay, we would like to reorganize it. And we already would like to forward all our online payments through this gateway. Or we don't want anymore to use this ticketing system for their partners to externally sell these tickets, but we would like to work with others. It was okay, and it was important that we knew this in advance, so we get prepared for certain tasks and activities. Legacy content migration, I already said, it was very important for them, and plus it has to be done in a proper time, in a proper way. As for performance, it was important that it's a public project, and depending with time being, it's more and more visited. That's why we need to have less limitations to grow performance. I will say in the beginning that at the moment we still don't use clustering, but we did a lot to get performance with standard features and standard approaches. And as well, a couple of tasks. Further, we will go one by one. Regarding legacy content, what we had, as I told before, there were several CMS systems, web shop, and some other resources from which we had to extract the content. Different types of it. Some content was able to get via XML. Some data we had to get connected directly to relational databases, or omitting with some interfaces, because in most cases it was PHP-based systems. We honestly not really much like PHP, and that's why we use data directly there it was possible. Some data were presented to us like spreadsheets or Excel sheets, and we get this data from there. For example, different types of printing materials, like books or catalogs, or some existing products, and so on. Of course, we had as well some data in HTML, and in this case, we mostly had to do some copy and paste work. It's rather boring, but it was better to do it manually than to develop a kind of super duper script, and we would spend much more time for that. the problem I already highlighted. It was important that in one moment, old system is switched off and new system is switched on. And we have thousands of document, images, videos, and other type of content. I tried to display this on diagram like this. We have a timeline, and we have an old system, and we have a new system. It's important that we started our migration task early before that moment, because new web page contains much more parts compared to the old one. It was larger in terms of structure, web page structure. It was much more different data types or content types, like I already mentioned, projects, sub-projects, exhibitions, concerts, comments, events, and so on. It's lots, and they all mixed to each other. During that moment, we tried to develop so-called, we call this like migration agents, a small piece of code which extracts certain data from certain format and move it to OpenCms visual file system. Everything was done to be able to implement this in shortest possible time frame. Then we had to switch from old system to a new one. And I would say that in this aspect, OpenCms was a great tool for us from its data structure. Of course, today in the morning we told that, well, it's a little bit old stuff and we have to move to a new one. Yes, we have to do this, and I 100% agree. We have to move to a new repository, to a new structure, but from openness point of view, from its XML basics in a file system, it was really convenient for us to make required XSL transformations or pump data from one source into OpenCms. Well, the next sample I already tried to show you a little bit. It was many forms of visualization, the same thing. It means, for example, I have an exhibition. It's a kind of like a structured document with number of fields or number of entities. When, where, why, who, and so on. And there are several ways of how it can be displayed. For example, in grid layout, but we have interesting feature for our content managers. They are able to define how many bricks or so-called placeholders they can use for each element. And then it's automatically renders here. Depending on image size, sometimes it's not possible to use square every time. And they say, okay, we need something like this. And they just say, okay, it takes 3 placeholders, and it's automatically renders in lines. Can be small, it can be large. We have scrollers, which I already shown you on a web page. Basically, it's the same content behind, but with other type of representations. We have tables. We are able to sort these tables and filter them on different parameters. They are not flexible search here, but basically every link means that we tune the query behind to add more or to add less data. This is how does it look like on the mobile version, which is currently in process. It's still not available online, but it will be deployed very soon. It's also the same exhibition stuff. Same for news. I will go quickly just to give you an impression that same news could be displayed in different ways, different lists, and with more information. Well, next point, a kind of challenge for us, it was data model, how to build in inside, and we solve several issues here. As I already told, we had a lot of different documents linked to each other, like this parent-child relations. Some data came from external data sources, and we would say that it was a kind of partial replication. Plus, we were needed to use not only visual file system of OpenCms, but for certain reasons we had to use additional relational database management system to store some data there. And to keep it up and running and to keep it in a consistent way, we had to be really careful with links we have between our document, between structured content displayed here and relational entities, plus some data through integration components came from external resources such as ERP system or other services, and they're just part of certain documents. That means part fields are replicated on a regular basis from external sources, and the rest is always maintained by content managers at OpenCms. And in this case, we had to define the kind of rules so we not override certain data. For example, if something gets from external resource in the beginning and then it was processed or edited somehow by content manager, it was not always nice that it's again we get all data here. So we defined several rules and procedures for certain content items, how they have to behave, so we don't have this so-called kind of merge conflicts in data model. In our configuration, we use PostgreSQL, not MySQL. It just was technical decision I have displayed here. Well, the next issue is performance and ability to improve performance. What we did for achieve this goal. Some people can say that application is fast enough, others can say that it's relatively slow. How to answer this question in a proper way? I think that the only way is to do some regular measurement of performance, otherwise you are not in position to make any judgments about this, if it's get better or it's get worse. The regular base means then we develop or extend some functionality, or we add more queries to build the content of complex page with lots of formatters and data queries. We have to recheck it again and again in which direction we go. Either we stay on a certain level or we move forward, so we make it work better and faster, or we forget about some indexes, or we do something not optimal enough and we reduce our performance 50% or sometimes even more. The next important issue is we have to somehow measure this and be able to compare some figures. Like we can compare 5 and 4, and we can easily say that 4 less than 5. But if you say in such terms like fast and slow, it's again too relative. Something what's fast for one person is slow for another. So we need exact figures which we can compare on a regular basis. It can be daily based, weekly based, monthly based, or based on certain release, but we have to do this. Especially important thing is to keep in mind the test plan. What I mean is test plan which we use to check performance of certain components or data requests or pages, web pages in terms of website. Our application, normally, if it's a successful application, it evolves. Are shown here in terms of functionality. So we get more and more new features, more new pages. Pages are step by step become more complex. And we have to keep in mind that our test plan as well should evolve, following by application. Otherwise, we get the wrong vision. So if test remains the same in initial state, it could be a situation that it still shows us brilliant results. So everything is perfect. For example, starting page. But the rest might bring real troubles. And what also important is to keep it somehow in an automatical way. That it's not belong to a certain person who can just forget to do something or forget to document some results. It's important to do it automatically as often as you need, according to your project needs or customer needs, and it has to be properly documented. So, what we do in this project is we keep in mind all this stuff I just mentioned above, and if you use the proper tools, if you are doing this on a regular basis, if you are documenting this and the process is automatically run, then we have a kind of cycle which we permanently running in it. So we develop, measure, and tune performance. We again develop, measure, tune performance. And being in this cycle allows us to keep the project on a certain level. This level, I would say, we can understand if it suits actual customer needs and they are happy with how it works from speed point of view. That's a level. We are not trying to do the best of the best response time. Sometimes it's not possible, sometimes it's much efforts and costs, and nobody wants to invest too much if it looks good. As for OpenCms tools, I already said, up to now, we haven't used clustering. We use rather powerful hosting machine, which is located by customer location. They have small data center, their own data center in their nice building. So internet channel, and so basically they decided that they're going to host it at their own hardware. Sorry. We use the standard set of techniques we already discussed, and most of you know: static exports, flex cache configurations. We think about content, image resizing, so not doing stupid mistakes while putting something really huge in documents. It's very good that OpenCms has a possibility to choose like Lucene and Solar indexes and so on. If it doesn't not enough, yeah, there are possible different ways of clustering and speeding up the solutions. Because it's subject of another talk, I just skip it. But we sure, and our customer is sure, that in case of troubles related to performance, we have several ways how to resolve it. That's why we are not shaky about this. Well, the next important theme is customer involvement into process. In every project, depending on its size, in every company, depending on how they manage their project management related activities, there are a couple of techniques and rules how this process is built up. What we did in our project at Erarta, our key product we use at Jira, where we solve several different issues. We use this as a major collaboration center where we're thinking about what will be the next iteration of the project or what new features we will include into the next release. We are working together with customers on requirements. We are adding their screenshots, drawings, schemes, descriptions, and other documents which allows us to understand each other precisely, means not thinking about the same subject in different ways. Otherwise, it's not possible to go through qualification and be able to set up finally. We use Jira for its major role is issue tracking. What we did is we use standard software development ticket lifecycle and extended with additional steps and additional server installations. We include the staging and test environments, so add more steps through which every task should go through before it is deployed or functionality. And it's enough from time point of view, and it's okay from product. And we define certain tasks or extensions to a certain version. If it's too much was generated from the head, we just move it to second version, third version, and so on. Of course, all future versions could be somehow reordered, or we play around because priority are changed. I mentioned this in the very beginning. Sometimes it happens that customer says, okay, maybe in the next 6 months I would like to have a certain feature I have just saw on a competitor web page or just on web page which I like. And then they could call next month and say, well, it would be nice to include this in this release, is it possible somehow? And we try to play around. Version delivery also here, and as well, we use Jira for all support issues, which might be divided into two parts. It's bug reports, which we have to react and process to include as fast as possible in next release, or if it's very important, to make a kind of intermediate stuff. And as well, customer support regarding how to work with content, how to work with structured document, how to organize better certain pages or containers. Because the structure of web page and documents are complex, and sometimes it requires more knowledge how to organize it together. Now I would like to show the diagram how we doing development in such a way that we assure a certain quality level. We use the following techniques and tools. We use unit testing for certain parts of a project. We don't use full coverage because it's too time consuming, but in some computation stuff, in web shop, for example, I will show this on the web page, it's really needed. We use functional testing because sometimes stupid mistakes could be not found, and Selenium tests allows us to go through the major routes which normally users do on a web page, starting from starting page, then go to a shop, then add something to shopping cart, and so on. We have several routes predefined and configured for automatical tests. We work on source quality. We use SonarQube, and when developers commit a certain amount of code, they know immediately if they do some mistakes or they do not execute properly coding agreements or some rules which are mandatory in our company. As for performance load and performance testing, I already shown how we did this with JMeter tools. We use Jenkins, as many of us here, as I recognized, for continuous integration. And we use issue tracking and more tasks with Jira, also just shown this. I try to keep it as simple as possible, but we have something like this. We have development environment on each developer who puts all artifacts and results through a version control system. We use a Jenkins as a automation of our tasks. As for quality of source code, unit tests, as well, Jenkins is responsible for running some other tests, but I display them a little bit in the left bottom corner. In a hosting environment, we have several servers, testing, staging, and live. The difference between testing and staging is such term that we try to replicate or to copy some data from live system to keep it as close as possible with live system. We do some tests with trimming or selenium on test and staging machines to reproduce some results, because it's not always possible to do on server in continuous integration mode, because it doesn't contain enough data to simulate certain situations. As from performance point of view as well, just another efforts to, of course, we could replicate data here, but it would make this more complex, and it would take a long time to get result and answer if build is okay or not. Well, all process is managed in Jira. Why we use unit tests in our application? We did this for this part of our project. We have a web shop where you're able to order a print of one of several thousand paintings that are in collection of museum or somehow related to Erarta projects through connections I explained, like 350 painters all over Russia. They also earn some money due to this stuff. They're just allowed to print their works. Also, they're not in collection of Erarta. They're just available here. So then you choose the type of painting, its size, the material, or if you defined how and where you would like it to be delivered. For example, either it's delivered inside the city in St. Petersburg, or to Moscow, or to another part of Russia that might be 6,000 kilometers away, or you deliver this to UK. They use different delivery services, and they apply completely different rules. How much does it cost? How it should be packed? Which types of packages used, and so on. And plus they have special parameters depending on author. Some popular paintings cost more, less popular cost less. So basically we have about 40 different parameters, which gives us the final price. It's not final yet, because we have to proceed to payment type, delivery type, and some other options. And then in result we get the sum, which will be the final. Before, we implemented unit tests to make all these computations. We get in some troubles in certain releases, and spend lots of time to figure out and to find where the mistake was done. Yeah, it was make sense in our case, in certain cases, which I just saw. What else is very important, and I try to display on this image, why project life cycle management is important. Sometimes, or I would say even often, when we talk to customer, we get such information like, or developers who work with us, it's a kind of black box, only they knows what happens. Sometimes even they don't know what happens. Then they deploy or make changes or redesign certain parts of application, and it's real headache. Then you would like to develop it further, or you would like to bring it to another developer team. Sometimes it happens, or you need to take another developers on board. So having this structured and documented approach, for example, like I showed with several servers with rules, then and what happened, automatical procedures, how it's documented, why and how, it allows us to solve the following issues. We reduce the support costs and efforts in case of any bugs or further development. We minimize faults on deployment. That means we minimize system downtimes, and as well it's very easy to get aboard new developer in our team, because we are developing this since 3 years, and during this time we have some changes in our team, and we have to do it with less impact to project and to customer result. This allows us to have our face open and not a black box on top. As for integration tasks, I just will go briefly and would say that the most important to any system which is meant to be integrated, it has to be, must be open, and it's very important for us. With OpenCms as a platform, we had basically no problems to connect it to any API of any third-party system and to make the proper exchange, either in level of relational database or visual file system or whatever. It was flexible and reliable. During the life cycle of Erarta project, as I already mentioned, we changed different online payment systems, use one within 1 year, and then after 1.5 years we use another system. We use different delivery services, we use different ticketing systems, we use social media for registration and login purposes, and as well a number of other integration tasks which perhaps small enough and makes no sense to spend more time. The most important is that platform allows us to do this in a smooth way and a reliable way. Migrations. I told that we do some migrations within project lifecycle of Erarta, and it's often two questions are stated by customer or together with customer why to migrate and how often it makes sense to do it. Of course, there are some obvious reasons, if it's performance or if it's a bugs, and we have to do this. But as for other like look and feel or personal feelings on new features, well, it depends on project, on customer, and situation. Also, how often. We have to understand that every migration or upgrade takes some efforts and costs in the result. And it can lead to some problems after or during migration process. But what we define for ourselves, the best case is then customer understands the benefits from moving to a new version. How we achieve this with Erarta and with other customers as well, what we try to do. I haven't drawn it on hosting system servers diagram. We have additional servers where we install most new and modern versions of OpenCms in advance and do some trainings, demonstrations, samples of content, samples of our ITDT and other features. So step by step, from every beginning, we show which new features are available in newer versions. And we never insisted on installing something new, because platform rather clean from bugs and it's good from performance point of view. So we did not forced to be in a hurry to install something, and it's really good because we are sure that if we use certain version, that it's stable. And we have to think only about our own mistakes in programming or data structures or whatever. And customer makes decision by him own. So okay, I like this, and that's why let's think. Then we could move to new version. Why we moved from 8 to 8.5? We installed this version to customer, and customer was impressed with our features, which obvious. All of us knew and understand this. So it's much more simplification for content editing, like direct editing features or server-friendly features, and all that daily stuff which content management do. What we did, again, we do some tests of if our application is compatible. It's a little bit close to the subject we discussed today in the morning. If it's compatible with the API we use, in this case it was no problem because we moved from 8 to 8.5. So basically 95% I think just was working out of the box. We do some tests and experiments with update wizard, which also provided by Alexey. It also made a lot of job for us, and we need to tune some data or redesign some formatters in a certain way. What was the most time and effort consuming? In our case, it was data and content, but not because it's a huge difference between the versions. The reason was because we do not properly follow the best practice how some data structures has to be organized internally. For us, it was a kind of mistake and mixture of understanding how to work with multilingual content, and we do some stupid things. But it was on us, and we paid this, not customer. But we learned a good lesson out of this, and while preparing to migrate to 9.5, we already will not continue, we will not do same mistake. Well, again, what is interested and why we will move to 9.5, it's again simplification of work for content management. For example, extended calories functionality, which is available directly from IDE or built-in spell checker. It's not yet tuned to support Russian language. We will work on this. It's on us. Flexible design. It was very important for customer to be able to build flexible pages. And in older version, it was rather tricky, and we had to invent, or basically a bicycle, to do that stuff. And now it's available out of the box, and this also gives us a lot of benefits. Future development. As I told, mobile version is in the process, and we are going soon deploy it. Plus, this mobile version will get third language, Chinese. We are going to more deeply integrate with social media, that we not only log in and register through, but we as well will exchange some data in both directions and simplify the life of content managers. Depending on workload and performance issues, perhaps we will need to think about clustering solution. And we got a lot of ideas from conference how we can manage this. As well, integration with different ticket and trading system, online trading system in this field. Well, we got really good impression from presentation of version 10, and we're sure that we will move to this when it gets ready, and we again show this to our customer. Basically, that's it. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm ready to answer your question. Yes, please.
Actually, I have two questions on the release process. You told in Jira you added additional steps for deployments to the different environments.
Yes.
As within one release, you normally deploy just more than just one feature.
Yeah.
No, more than just one feature. So
yes.
For each version, there are many issues involved. Wouldn't you have to transfer the state of the ticket for each issue to the next stage then?
Yes, we transfer each issue, but we okay, of course, if someone has to make tests, manual tests of certain issues, we are not doing this one by one, and we wait until a reasonable amount of work is prepared. But we change each ticket from one state to another, moving it from testing server to staging system and so on.
It's also a little bit like unnecessary work because you would have to transfer all tickets at the same time when going from stage to live or whatsoever.
Yeah, thank you for the idea. We are permanently developing our process, what I decided to do, I shown as it is now, and I'm really happy to get valuable ideas from everybody who can see some problems or some weaknesses in this process and be ready to improve. At the moment we do it like this, because it also kind of step forward for us. I would say like 3 years ago we didn't have such issue tracking. That's why our level was like here. Now we 5 centimeters higher, and perhaps with some valuable ideas we will move next step. Yeah, the second question.
Second question. On the slides, it looked like you trigger deployments to testing stage and productions from Jenkins.
Could you please repeat?
Deployments to stage testing and production
Okay.
or live are triggered from Jenkins?
No. Jenkins only built a version on its own server which was deployed, and then all modules to staging and to live system are moved manually by system administrators.
The picture implied that...
yeah, it was an idea, that direction, that we move version from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. So sorry
okay.
if it was not obvious in this case.
Okay.
Just one moment. Yeah, it's manual process.
Okay.
Jenkins is only responsible to build a version and give us an answer if it's good or not, if it's valid, or if it's passed the tests.
I would have been interested how it's done. So
okay, sorry, I think I can't.
It's done by module by module.
So
Yes,
many
please.
thanks.
Yeah?
Many thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yes, please. I can back to the slide the archive is located. Okay, if there are no more questions, thanks a lot once again for your attention. If you recall some ideas towards presentation, you are welcome. I'm here until end of our OpenCms days, and we can talk while drinking some coffee. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Briefly announce that the showcase session, it starts 50 minutes later, so both sessions will start 12:30, okay?